Welcome to the Foster Your Passion podcast, where entrepreneurs, who are mostly women, share their passions, their lessons, and leave you feeling uplifted, motivated, and possibly even inspired to go and foster your own passion. I'm your host, Haley Foster, and this is the Foster Your Passion podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Foster Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Haley Foster, and I am here today with the amazing Monica Van Landingham, who I just got to meet in real life and spent 4 amazing days with this woman. And I am like literally still on cloud 9.
Me too.
Yes, super excited that we got that time together. I got to know you on a whole other level, and thank you for giving me some of your time today so we can talk all things social with Monica V.
That's me. Yes.
Yay.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. So, Monica, talk to me and give me the short version of your life story.
There's no short version. So I'm a mom of 4. I've been married for 25 years. I'm a native to Florida, born and raised in Florida, and we moved to Nashville. We live in Nashville now, back in 2012. So we've been here for over 9 years. And I'm just a serial entrepreneur. After college, I was in the fitness industry, and I did some sales and marketing jobs where I worked for a company called American Club Systems. We'd go and open up like world gyms and Gold's gyms or take them over. And, and I would go to different places, and we would go in and like either start from the ground up or like go into an existing gym and put new like systems in place. And that's where I kind of like, that was like my first job out of college. I was teaching aerobics in college, and long story short, I'd lived in Binghamton, New York. I'd lived in West Palm Beach. And I got moved to Jacksonville where I graduated from college, and I hired my husband to work for me.
Nice.
Took sexual harassment to a whole new level. But, that's where I met the love of my life. And that started my entrepreneurial journey. Like, I had this great job. I was in my early 20s, and I was learning a lot about like memberships and build outs and all these things. And we got engaged, and we moved we were in Jacksonville. We moved back to the area town I was from in Clearwater. And then I went on my entrepreneurial journey. I had a couple of jobs where I worked for people, but I always had my own businesses. We had married, we had our first 2 children, and we started our first business together. I owned an indoor play facility. It was called Playtime Express and a play patch. And there were indoor play facilities. When your kids were little, all the places you would go, and they had all the toys that you would want your kids to play with, but you didn't want in your house. And then we taught, instead of teaching aerobics, I was teaching mommy and me kind of classes, doing birthday parties. And so for my entrepreneurial journey, I wound up making like a little manual, and I didn't franchise, but I sold the license, and people opened up their own versions in Maryland and different parts of my place. And from there, I did a stint on Home Shopping Network. There's jobs in between. I worked for Terminex. I've had a million different jobs. But fast forward to by the time we had our 4th child, I got on Facebook. And I started a Facebook business. This was before Facebook pages, before Facebook, anything other than Facebooking. So I created a second profile. Instead of mine being Monica Van Landingham, it was Mon Van Landingham, which was a separate Facebook. And I just created events every week, ordered from wholesalers. I opened my own online boutique. And I would just all week long in the event, because this was 2010, I would just like put teasers of handbags and dresses and think like mommy crack, like Target prices. And on Sunday nights, I would launch it and say, comment your size in the comments with your PayPal. And I started an online community selling swag. And again, this was before there were such things as like Facebook pages. And then by 2011 or 2012, we really started to have the Facebook page. I created that. We moved over to that, where I would do like live sales. And lo and behold, I had this community of like 3,000 women between Facebook and Instagram who were showing up and buying my stuff. It was incredible. And like at the time, I didn't realize how incredible it was. This was before the word bucket list. This was before community over competition. This was 2011, 2012. And I'm still to this day, some of these people I work with, I've helped with their social media. I'm still in contact with, there's a video on YouTube, you'll have to go see it, where they literally were in cahoots with my husband and sent me this giant box where one woman, Trisha, got everybody who was like regulars, always showing up every week for my sales. They all sent me this huge care package with letters and gifts because of what I did as I was literally running my business. It was incredible. So that was how I got started. It was it's like a 3-parter on YouTube because back in the day you couldn't load a 60-minute video onto YouTube again.
Right.
But anyways, long story short, way too late. My husband got relocated here to Franklin in 2012, and I was still doing my business for about a year. It was called Mon's Fab Fashions, Monica's Fantabulous Fashions. Had I realized it was going to go so far, I don't know if I would have named it that. But I did it for about a year, and then that's when Shopify started coming in, and it was changing, and I was like, and not that I didn't want to do the fashion anymore, but it just wasn't the same. My business model was changing, and at the same time, in parallel, I just moved to Franklin, Tennessee, and I was a dance mom, and I was a football mom, and I was always this mom at the field that everybody's like, here, help me, and I always helped everybody with, change it to Gmail, how to do the parental settings, and all those. So someone said, I know a chef that's hiring. She needs someone for social media and a little office work. And I'm like, all right. And lo and behold, I had my first social media account, and I had no idea, just BS and personality. And I knew more than most about social. Created a Pinterest, and then that begot a new account that I got a restaurant in town, and so on and so forth. 9 years later, Veer Media. And I have about 14 social media management accounts and my coaching program.
You're awesome. I never heard this story before, ever.
It's a long one. I mean, and I really condensed it. I mean, I didn't tell you about when I used to climb under houses for Terminix Pest Control when I was the real estate liaison, but I had to be a state-controlled pest control operator, so I literally had to put the jumpsuit on for termites and to set traps. But I was really the lady who would just go to your mailboxes at the real estate and put my flyers as your bug lady for your your termite inspections when you close on your house. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole pocket full of those jobs too, but I tried just to talk about the entrepreneurial part.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, you are being an entrepreneur when you're doing some of those things. Like, listen, I mean, like there's always a side hustle because, we always see like bright, shiny objects and,
Oh, yeah.
we're always looking for the next bright, shiny, fun thing we can do, whether it's something that's in our business or outside of our business. And similarly, that was sort of my story too. Like I was doing networking events because I just wanted to bring females together, to talk about business and networking. And I too was like, spring chicken into the Facebook world and Instagram. And I think I went to my first summit. Jeez, I started this business in 13. Yeah. So, oh God, it was like
So you were along the same line as
2010
me.
probably.
Yeah, I mean, like Veer Media. Veer Media is the name of my company, and my last name is Van Landingham. And I'd already had several social media clients, but I didn't have a company. I was just doing everything under Mon's Fab Fashions because that's where I had my tax ID number and all. I wasn't making $6,000 government, just saying at the time. I mean, although we're past the statute of limitations, it was like
Let's just be clear.
In my defense, but back in the day, my husband and I were trying to figure out, like, because he's like, you should really, you're good at this. And I had 3 or 4 clients at that time. And I'm like, what would I call it? I just didn't want it to be something cheesy. And the only real name I wanted was My ADD Works for Me, because I have ADHD. It's a whole other story. Since I was in 3rd grade, I really have it. Blah, blah. But he's like, you're not calling it that. So we're in the car, and his last name is Van Landingham, and his background is Dutch. So I started looking up different dialects. We have 4 children, and I was looking at words, and Veer, Vier, I think in German means fire, like to ignite. In another, like either Dutch, or, I don't know, Danish, it was Veer means 4, and we had 4 kids. And I think about veering you in the right direction. I'm like, okay, so this is the name of my company now. It starts with a V. My last name is Van Landingham. So before I started Veer Media, it was like 2013. I had a handful of clients, and I was just, I mean, they were paying me through, most of them paid me through their payroll. So I wasn't like, I didn't have to like create a company, but at some point I had to like get a business card and get a logo and create a website because people. So yeah, you and I probably have been doing this about the same amount of time.
Probably, yes. So what's been the biggest challenge through all of these years that you've been doing this?
Time management. And it's still my biggest challenge to this day. Time management. You have, at the time when we moved here in 2012 and I started my company around 2013, my oldest son was in 6th grade. And now he's, going to be 22 in October. So there's that. And at the time he was, and still is, both my 2 older sons play college football. He was an athlete. He wasn't driving in 6th grade. So I had to get him to all of his sports stuff. And my second son, Max, at the time, he wasn't playing football, but he was in a competitive dance team. My daughter, the same thing. She was on the competitive dance team. Plus Zach, my youngest, was like 3 or 4. So just the time management. And my husband was working like to go in Nashville back and forth. And some days it was a 20-minute drive to work. Some days it was an hour and a half, because traffic. So it was just doing all of those things, and not because the people I worked for had like time limitations or constraints. I was doing social media, but just trying to get it all done and trying to do all the things and be at all the places. So that was when they're younger, it's harder. Now it's not as hard, but now I have more work. So getting it all in. So it's still the same issue, even though it looks differently and it is different.
Right. So, I mean, I can talk time management all day long. I'm sorry I missed yesterday's Clubhouse room on time management because I'm sure it was amazing. Were you in that room yesterday?
I wasn't in the, well, no, I did the social media room.
Right.
But no, I wasn't. Who did a time management room?
You recommended someone reach out to a bunch of us to talk time management.
Yes, no, I did that room. That was on Wednesday. That was with Jen. Yes, it was great. I wish you were
Wasn't
there.
that
Yeah,
yesterday? Oh,
I
no,
know
today's
because
Friday. It was
it was
Wednesday.
Wednesday. I was in it. I wound up modding in that room. It's so funny because I mean, even though like I struggle with it, like I've overcome and I've gotten better. So
Well,
I do.
talk to me. Like I want to hear that. So I want to hear like as a social media person, and we're going to talk like social media in a minute or two. But as a social media person, when you're juggling everybody, like I know how much social media time takes from my life just doing my
Imagine.
own shit. So I want to know like if you've got 6 clients and you've got to be social media-ing for all of them, like what are you doing? How
Imagine.
are you
And
overcoming
I
that
am
challenge?
and I'm not like you, and I'm not like I don't have that A-type personality. I just don't. I wish I did. I can get into the pocket, and for my clients, I do. So I have, I batch content, I create, I go in and I spend time doing the graphics, and I'll have chunks of my days, different days of the week scheduled out, where like for all of my clients, I'm already halfway, if not already scheduling into late October. As far as creating content, some of the stuff because I all my clients all look differently. I have a realtor, I have job recruiters, and that's the one that's more time sensitive because they have new roles, new positions opening up. I work for an ophthalmologist, and he has 5 locations. I have a dermatologist who has 5 locations. I have a walk-in clinic that has 6 locations. So some of that content can be batched out far in advance, but of course, in last minute, here, post this. You got to do that too. But I have all of those clients, all of my social media clients scheduled far in advance. I follow, I do practice what I preach, the 10-minute rule. Before I post, I go in for each of them and engage and post their stories and comment, answer their comments and then the post goes up and then I do the 10 minutes after and then I revisit it again. So it's all about structure and having the time. And those are part of my work days. Now, when it comes to the shoemaker, that's another thing. Now, I do schedule and batch out all my content for a month for Veer Media, but I would say at least 3 out of 7 days a week, I go in there and I'll push or post back because I want to talk about something else.
Right.
Because that's, when you're in clubhouse rooms 4 days a week, and I mean, I'm not in them all day. I'm only in there I'm so disciplined about my clubhouse time. Like when I popped into Jen's room, I brought all those people together. So I really tried. So I came in, but usually I'm only there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for Wex, and then Thursday for my social, and that's it. But that gives me the event flexibility that if I want to hop in, I do. But when it
Yeah.
comes to those, I mean, those are, my client. I have to be prepared, and
Yeah.
there's always new stuff rolling in, and if they're making like, there's always new stuff coming at me. So at least if I have the decks loaded and I'm 6 weeks ahead, 5 weeks ahead with their content, anything that comes at me, no big whoop.
Yeah. And are you currently taking on new clients?
It depends. I mean, like not like for the places and spaces that we're in, probably not. And it's not like, oh, you can't afford me. But tend to, as you can see here, I tend to moved up from small business to working with larger scale businesses. My contracts are usually a 6-month minimum. And I really, the places and spaces that I show up on Clubhouse and Instagram is for my coaching for social
Yeah.
media. So yes, for that. But of course, for social media marketing and management, you can make me an offer I can't refuse. I mean, I'm always open for sure.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, I would love to pay you for obviously your zone of genius. I have a client who's looking for help, which is why
Well,
I
and
was
I mean, I can
asking. And not
refer
only
them to
that, but
somebody.
you never know who's listening to my podcast. So
True.
somebody that's listening that has a medium-sized business and maybe looking for social media marketing and management, Monica Van Landingham, Viewer Media,
Absolutely.
could be your next client.
Well, no, but like just like you, it has different. Like you have Scout, you have multiple legs, multiple octopus arms to your business. Like I've got my social media management company, and we've got a good amount of clients, knock on wood, and then I've got my coaching program and all of the strategy that I help with others. So I mean, I'm always open, and I, me, I love to just help. I love to just be in the mix because it
I
keeps you
know.
and it keeps you relevant too.
Absolutely. Completely relevant. Absolutely. So I love it. I know what you do and how amazing you are, but that's where you can find Monica if anybody's listening is looking for that. And listen, with any business comes like a whole ton of challenges, right? And so time management obviously being one that I think is probably near and dear to all of us women that are working moms, wives, entrepreneurs. Like it's a whole lot of shit to juggle. You got 4 kids. Geez. Like I don't know how you do it with 4 kids, but
Well, but I have an amazing husband. You've got one too, so you know.
I do.
And he's always, I mean, he's not an entrepreneur. He's always worked in finance. He's always been like a 9 to 5er, but he's always go, do it, go, do
Yeah.
it. And since the pandemic, I mean, he's always worked in office, but his office is around the corner and he's been home. He's actually at the office today, but he only goes to the office maybe once or twice a week. So he's here helping with, we rescue boxers, we have dogs, like we're insane, but we're doing it together and we're having fun. And like we'll live
Yes.
our, when Z-Man, who's only in 7th grade, when he goes off to college, we're going to be traveling. We're going to be doing some stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, and not only that, you also have this amazing vacation home in Nashville, Tennessee that I was fortunate enough to stay
Oh,
at,
that was the best. That
right?
was the best.
The reunion stay. If anybody is looking for a place to stay in Nashville, I've already
Yes.
recommended it to like
Plug
3
it, plug it.
people
Yeah,
that
we
I
have a
met in
vacation rental
Mexico.
property. Oh, we have this vacation rental property and it's on 8 acres and it has 13 bedrooms and you never have to leave. I mean, we never left except to go to Publix. I mean, like we never left. And
I'm
even though people,
embarrassed to say I went to Nashville.
well, you're going to have to come back and we'll do the national thing. But that weekend was so about all of us just getting together.
I know.
But
Trust me,
luckily
I
that
want to come
house,
back. Brian wants to come back too.
good. Come on, let's go.
So yeah, we
Let's
uh
go.
we we definitely want to come back because people are like, "How's Nashville?" I'm like,
I don't know.
I could have been in Bumblefuck, Nebraska, because I saw nothing except the property.
And I mean, like I even said to Celicia, I mean, like, should we take them to do the Nashville thing? She goes, but she's like, well, they can do it if they want, but we wanted to give you everything we offered.
Yeah,
And I mean,
no,
it wasn't
and
like,
it
was
was
it too big?
amazing. I wouldn't change a second
Oh no,
of
we'd
what
be
we
the same.
did.
I was
I would
cutting.
not change a second.
Yeah, I know it was amazing, but I do feel like, oh, people didn't get to do the Nashville thing, but I live here and I never do the Nashville thing
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm
I know
49.
people. I'm like, what did I miss? People are like bachelor parties, bachelorette
Yeah,
parties. Like, you didn't
honky
miss
tonk.
much. That's really what it's all about.
Well, we have amazing food, and like, there's a lot. Like, trust me, we could do the town. You know what I mean? That's just a whole nother trip. You got to bring your husband. We'll do the town.
All right. I'm in. That's an invite, and I'm taking you up on it.
And it's on here. It's in print.
We'll be there. We'll be there. Trust me. Trust me. So, what I love to talk about are, sort of like, well, we're going to get to some tips that you can provide to anybody that's listening here because people are always coming to me and being like, how do you freaking manage all the social stuff you do? So, I'm going to ask you to think now about some tips I'm going to ask you about in a couple of minutes. But
Okay.
what is like one of the biggest, like what's been your biggest success story, like since you started this business? Because, a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to get to here. And it's like, well, there's a lot of things you need to do to get to there. Like there really is no overnight success, right? So you got to climb that hill. You can't just zoom to the top of it. Like you got to climb the hill. No matter what you do, there is a mountain and it needs to be climbed to get to
And
where you want to
the
be.
mountain gets further away, or it's a new mountain. You know,
Yes.
it's hard to say because everybody's version of success is different. Like, of course, who wouldn't want to be? Like I fantasize and have thought about like really scaling to do big products and be like a big hoo ha. I don't even know what to call it, but viral Instagram influencer, social media guru, whatever. And I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy it, but it's just not how I operate. It's not how I work. My clients, the thing with social media is just like any other business, but like I can only speak of my sort of genius. Social media is always changing. I mean, like from week to week. Remember we were talking, like told me about when they change carousels. I mean, like just think of that times a million every week. Like it's always changing. And because I'm in the fray, I get it real quick. So there's this level of expertise, and not because I didn't have to go figure it out. It took me less time to figure it out. But the way it's always evolving and changing. My biggest success story. I mean, there's so many different ones, like, whether or not, like the second restaurant I took on, just stalked BuzzFeed and the Food Channel and the Food Network on Twitter to get them to come notice this restaurant. It's called the Funky Griddle. It's in Nashville. If you haven't heard of it, you got to check it out. It's amazing. It's an experience. It has gluten-free and vegan food, but you make your pancakes at the table, you pour it. It's very cool. But
What? Oh my
it's
God.
so cool. It's so cool. And when I took on their social media, they didn't have any. But it was pretty well known, and there was a lot of goodwill built in. I'm not going to act like, oh, I did it all, but I did. I mean, I get all the credit. But for the first 2 years, I just stalked on Twitter, like BuzzFeed, the Food Network, the Food Channel, the Travel Channel. Well, within a 16-month period of time, they all came around and did videos and features on the restaurant. And that's all feathers in my cap. So those are like professional woohoos, and I'm proud of it. But for me, I mean, the successes that I feel, it's going to be corny, but like just watching other people, like the people I work with, like a girl, Caitlin, that I work with, watching her stuff, like she just wants to be an influencer. She's got multiples. She's a young mom. I don't even know if she's 30 yet, but when I met with her, she's got 200 followers. Now she's probably at 33,000. She wants to be an influencer, mommy influencer, and she's got brand deals constantly and her stuff. And so like those are the best for me. Those feel like I could tell you other things that have gone viral, and I've got reels, and TikToks that have million views, and like things that I did, and those are great for those brands. But for me, for my success and for where I'm putting my energy and my heart and soul, watching the successes of the people I work with, and just letting them, watching people who are so timid to get on video or do whatever, and now they're just like, that's the best part. And also, covering my family's insurance now, like that was a big milestone for me. My husband, for all those years, he had the big earner job. He provided the health insurance, and he still could. But over the pandemic, I wanted to take it over. And now for 2 years now, I'm handling that health insurance. So, and that was just a really big win for me. So,
I love that. Listen,
I don't
that's a
know
huge
if
win. That's a huge win. I love
they're
that.
all huge wins, but like, I don't know if I have like a really specific, because it changed, and it just looks different, and where my interests are at.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I couldn't be more aligned with everything you just said. For me, it's a similar thing. I feel success when I see other people succeeding at what I'm coaching them to succeed at. Right. So,
Mhm.
I always say, like, I'd rather support 1 million people than make $1 million. Like, that's the $1 million is not going to bring me happiness and fill my cup. What's going to fill my cup is seeing the women that I'm coaching and guiding and supporting
See them
reach
soar.
their goals and achieve, success, whatever that means for them. And it means something different for all of us. But I love that. I
Yeah,
absolutely,
and when we say that, it's funny because if you're really listening, we're not saying that we're taking credit for their success, because they did the work.
yeah.
We just gave them the tools. But it's just such a fun, and should have been a teacher. No, I didn't want to be a teacher. Never. No, I can't teach anything. It's just that I'm passionate about this. I'm obsessed with this. So I'm really patient. But I didn't want to be a teacher. It's just that you're watching people get comfortable with something, or there's something that intimidates. It's just amazing. It's amazing to see them soar. I'm with you right there.
Yeah, you're a muse. You're a guide. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So, okay, so teacher.
So what
What
do we say?
give us some tips, right? So, I don't know. I'm going to say people that are listening to this are probably like middle of the line social media, people, like when it comes to their
Right.
knowledge
Yeah.
base.
And that's the
So,
hardest part, because everybody comes in at a different place.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some people, like Talisha said, she wasn't on Instagram until she got on Clubhouse. I'm like, what? But their kids are younger. Like her oldest kid is, a little bit older than my youngest. So it's just different. Although you'd think that people who are younger would have all of it. So
Yeah.
it's always amusing to me, and just always surprises me when I'm like, you didn't have, so some people could come in and they've been on Instagram and they're more voyeurs, and they knew how to like, and they knew how to share or send a message. They didn't know how to do their story. They didn't know how to do all these things. So it's always a challenge, and not in a bad way, but I can't just go in and blanket teach a course to like a whole group of people, because everybo's at a different space.
But like
So
three biggest things.
yeah, no,
So,
no, absolutely.
yeah,
So
like three biggest things. Like, I'll throw one out there that I didn't really know was that important, but like the fact that your name on Instagram is a searchable keyword term.
oh yeah. Oh well, yeah. Oh, talking about the bio. Like first and foremost, so if I were to give you my three biggest tips when you're getting on Instagram for your business, even if your business is there, even if you have a personal one, and when you're in there and you're like, okay, locked and loaded, seatbelts on, let's rock. We're going to do this thing on Instagram to mirror what I'm doing out there, whatever your product or service is, if you're showing up other places, whether it's, on TV or if it's on Clubhouse, whatever. Most important thing you need to address first and foremost is your bio, and make sure it's optimized and make sure it's clear. So even if they're coming in from Clubhouse, or if they've, clicked on your Instagram from a website or someone tagged them, they're always going to land on your bio, on your feed. That's your domain, so to speak. So you need to be sure that you have it correctly. Now, of course, they can go to my Instagram and I've got and they can DM me and say, could you send me your posts about bio? Because everything I say, they don't need to write down. I've got content on my timeline, on my feed, that will tell everything I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that, your handle, if your handle has your name, like yours is, I am Haley Foster. So you don't even have to, in your name portion, have to put your name, because it's literally there. But if it's like something like mine, Veer Media, I need to have Monica on there. I didn't put my whole name. I just put Monica, because the other characters you have left are searchable keywords. So for me, I'm an Instagram growth strategist and a social media coach. So I put that in that's great real estate that literally, when people go into the explore page, it's like a search bar. It's like a search engine.
Yeah.
So you can if someone put IG strategist, I'm going to come up at some point in that search. So it's really important they take advantage of it. It's really important that they talk about the pain point as their next set, like their next line needs to say, what do you do? Like mine is, what is mine? I'm an Instagram growth strategist. I cultivate and empower ambitious women to use Instagram for their business. So I talk about exactly the pain point that I address, that first thing. So the bio is, you go further to talk about like having a call to action and, but it's so, so important. And it's important that you have your name in there. So if your name isn't your handle, make sure that you have your name there, because people don't know who they're talking to. So that's the first thing. The second thing, these are all first things. All of these, it's not even in a chronological order. They're all equally important. Number two of all equally important three things is consistency. Do not plan on coming in here, show up every day, and then not show up for 2 weeks, and then show up for a day, and then show up for a week. You have to be consistent. If you're going to post on Instagram twice a week, just be sure to post twice a week. You don't have to do it every day. You don't. I do encourage people to be on their story every day, like at least one or two. So when people land on your profile and you haven't posted since Sunday, but then they go look at your profile picture and they can see the little ring going around, and oh, she's active. Oh, she's present. Oh, she's reachable. So it's really important that you tap in on your stories at least once a day. I would say 3, but you don't have to. And you don't have to, just be consistent. Consistency is everything. And the last thing
We
is,
could do a whole podcast on consistency. I was just talking
absolutely,
about consistency last week, and it's
it's
honestly the key
everything
thing in every aspect of your business,
of
not
your
just
life.
social media.
Of your life. Think about your kids.
Totally.
Think about, like, you're not consistent. You show up late to pick them up from school. You don't, like all those things. It's so important. Now, mind you, I am a self-proclaimed non-A type personality. So with ADHD. So that being said, but being consistent and showing up is still doable even when you have those type of challenges. Like, I am not, I do, I'm just going to do a little shameless plug. I do have to-do lists with my Haley Foster Ink notebook. Yes, thank you. With the branded pen.
Uh-huh.
And I do have lists, but I'm just not that person that goes through a list on the day, because things get thrown at me from different directions with all my clients, with all my kids, but you still can show up consistently. I am solid, as much of a hot mess as I am. So being consistent, having that optimized bio. And then the last thing is, don't show up on a platform like Instagram and not engage. Like, don't think that you're just going to be able to throw stuff up there and go about. You've got to, and it doesn't mean you have to spend hours a day. I have something on my timeline called the 10-minute rule, and it is the best formula. Now, mind you, it can turn into the 30-minute rule. It can turn into the 50-minute rule. It can be as long. You can put as much or as little, but you could spend, it's actually not the 10-minute rule, 20-minute rule. 10-minute rule is for the days that you don't post. But the 20-minute rule is 10 minutes before you post. You go do the thing, you engage, put on your stories, you answer your comments, then you post. Then you do it for another 10 minutes and you go about your day. And the next day,
And that's successful. I will say, like, that is probably one of the biggest things that I have noticed in terms of which one of my posts do better than others.
is when you
Is
engage before story and then engage after. Yeah.
yeah.
There's even more intricate tricks to it. Like, for example, you can log on, like I've been trying at least a handful of days a week, and these posts are doing great, but it's just hard for me to be consistent at the 6 a.m. post. But the day, and I'm up already, it's just like the lunches, the dogs, walking, the day I go to the gym, when my husband walks, there's lots of moving parts, and I do what I can. So I'm giving myself grace because I post every day. But at the 6 a.m. mark, when I get up at 6 a.m., and I get up at 5:30, but 10 minutes before because my post is already ready. Like I've already got it prepped. I've already got the graphic made from one other day of batching, and I've got my caption written. So it's ready to rock. So I go on Instagram, I put something on my story, I slide through some stories, commenting and getting people's DMs, and not just emojis, like saying, a few things, but and them being meaningful. Like if I see something on yours, like, oh, go mama, look at that dress or whatever, whatever it is. And then I go and I answer all my notifications. I answer all my DMs. I answer any comments of mine. But the one big thing, like the little thing, and this is a little tip, is when you answer people's comments, don't heart it. Don't like it as well. Just leave the heart. Just answer their comments, but leave the heart unread. Then you go post after 10 minutes. If you've done that for 10 minutes and you've answered all your comments and you go and you engage in some posts on your feed, other people, then you go post. And then after you post, you go back to all your previous posts that you haven't hearted and you like them. Because let's say you answered some of those comments last night. You responded to those comments last night. Well, you're going back and you're hearting them and you're bringing them back into the fray. Oh, I'm active. I'm here. Come play. And then you go back. And while and then after you post for another 10 minutes, just go engage with people in your feed, maybe put your post to your story, and you're done. And it's a great system and it really is effective.
It's a great tip for sure. And I do it the other way. And I know it's not the right way to do it.
No, it doesn't matter if you like it before or after. It's the same thing. It's just that it works for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm on Instagram obviously more than once a day. I mean, come on. So like the night before, I've answered all these comments from the reel I posted yesterday morning or something, but I didn't like them yet because I haven't posted again since then. So I've got 2-3 posts back where, and there's a straggling comments that I had, that I'm just answering. So that's how I try not to miss them. Like it's my way of checking myself.
Yeah, no. And that's a great strategy. And I think that's one of the big things is you got to do what works for you. Right?
Oh, it's not one size fits all. I say that all the time.
Yes, you got to do what works for you. Like, and you said in the beginning, like, just be consistent, but do what works for you. So if twice a week works for you, then do it twice a week.
Over deliver. You know what I mean? You under promise, but I'm just going to post and put value out there twice a week, whether it's a reel or a carousel or a static post, whatever it is, twice a week. That's all you need to be accountable for. And then you show up on your stories and you're engaging every day. You're giving them more than they're asking for because every time you engage on the comments on your post and other people's posts, you're putting value out there. And it's immeasurable.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. This has been amazing. So fun.
Did we do all the questions?
We did all the questions.
I'm doing my
yes. I used to have a little applause up here. Hold on.
I had one of those, but because Felicia sent it to me with all the sounds we used for the clubhouse room, but it's gone. It's gone. I got to send it to be linked again because now there was only one button and I used to have 100.
I know. I used to have a bunch more too. And I hit the little X on accident one day and I lost my little clap. So now I got to find the clapping again.
I pinned it, but it got something happened. I got to restart my computer.
I got to figure it out too. I was looking before you signed on because I wanted to have the clap available, but all good.
For myself.
You're amazing. Thank you. This was great.
Yay. I loved it. It was fun. And I hope it helped. Even those little tips, just like I said, it's not one size fits all at all. And everything, when I work with people, whether I work with people in groups or, one-on-one or however, it's still customized. And the only way to figure that out is to just jump in there and start doing it. There's no perfect,
people help me with reels. I'm like, just start doing them and you'll figure it out.
It's going to suck. Anybody who wants to see some really shitty reels, go to the very bottom of my reels feed because I want to get rid of them, but that's social proof. I started in August, wasn't a TikToker like everybody else. All the captions and covering my face and not timed out. You want a couple good laughs, go look at my first 5 or 6 reels.
All right. Well, while we're on the call, while we're on this, let's just see where we're at with that amazing reel that we did.
Oh, yes.
In Nashville.
You've got to be so excited that I posted that.
Oh my God. 12,300.
Dude, you have a viral reel. Who knew? Hey, it was your thing. It was your idea. You wanted to make it. You got my daughter to fit, you got all the wheels in motion. And then you let me post it, which who knows? It could be more even without me putting hashtag, you know what I mean? It just was, that's true collaboration. That is the reason why it's doing so well is because that reel is the epitome of collaborating, like from
Yes.
start to finish.
Yes. I know. I wish we did 100 more of them because I
Well,
had
I'm
some
about
other
to send
ideas
out
that I wanted to do, but
I want it, but I'm gonna send out, like a Google Drive. I just wanted to get through Bethany's because we're starting yours next, and I just there's so many moving parts, because I'm gonna send out everybody's remix. Everybody's gonna get a remix, so there's so much that we still have to put out into the world.
I know
We're
so
gonna have
much,
a
and I
weekend
can't
for
wait
my
for our photos and
I
there's
know.
so
And
much
then
that came
by
out
the
of
time
that
we have all
weekend.
the things, we're gonna be meeting again. So
I know. What I'm excited about is that every week we get to meet. I almost like I'm going to say this now because by the time this airs, we'll be like well into it, but I'm almost like I don't really know if I want anyone else in my 12-week program.
yes, you do. Whoever it is, lucky them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I mean, all the people in there, and I mean, we're includers. No one's gonna feel like they don't get the joke.
No, I know. I know.
We're not like
But I'm
that. But
excited for our next digital creators workshop. It's going to be
yeah,
amazing, even more amazing than the first one.
We're thinking April, so it's like right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Awesome. Well, count me in. Just don't do it over Passover.
So isn't that like late March? I gotta look at the calendar this
It
year.
might be. It might be. It might be. But this has been amazing. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I truly appreciate you always.
I'm so happy. Like I'm so happy you got to hear some of my crazy stories, because I got lots of them of what I used to do. I mean, I'm sure you're like you. I
I
don't
know
really
this could be like a 3-part series. We should just go on to IG Live after this and just keep talking.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm meeting with my friend Aurora today at 1, and then I'm done. So yeah.
All right,
But
good.
yeah,
Awesome. I'm catching up on like a week of not being
I'm still catching
working.
up from us from 2
I
weeks
have a
ago.
lot of Bethany to catch up on. So I'm
Me
gonna
too.
I'm
I
gonna
have like
sign off here. I'm gonna go finish my meetings for the day and then I'm gonna go binge on Brittany.
Brittany bitch.
Brittany bitch. All right, Monica, thank you so much. I'm gonna hit the stop button. You don't do anything. You just sit there and we're gonna chat. All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye,
Talk to you
everybody.
next time. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Haley Foster, and I hope you'll join me next time for more inspiring women who are fostering their passions each and every day. Please subscribe wherever you download your podcast and follow us on social media at Fostering 101.